Have you ever noticed that among the many people you encounter, there's always one who repeatedly declares, "I don't have money"? This is a familiar refrain that echoes in everyday conversations, yet when you observe closely, you see how easily they travel, indulge in the latest gadgets, attend glamorous concerts, and live with a sense of ease. Meanwhile, you, the compassionate and responsible one, constantly find yourself feeling guilty when charging for your work, your heart twinges when accepting payment, and you empathize so deeply with those who claim they cannot pay that you discount your value. It is as though your generous nature, fueled by your sensitivity and empathetic constitution, becomes your greatest burden. In today's journey, we will explore an idea that may feel both provocative and liberating, that our relationship with money is far more than numbers in a bank account. Rather, money is imbued with emotion, identity, and even loyalty to our families, our communities, and our deep-seated beliefs about what is right and fair. This understanding is especially resonant for those of us who are highly sensitive, for whom money is not merely a transactional tool but a nerve that connects to our very sense of safety, our identity, and our ideals. Money is never simply about the exchange of currency, it is an emotional force that ties into who we believe we are. When we hear the words, money, we often think of bank balances and figures. But beneath all that, money is an amplifier of our deepest feelings. It is a mirror that reflects our truths about love, shame, loyalty, and even our hidden fears about visibility and success. In the words of Carl Jung, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. His insight rings particularly true when it comes to how we, as sensitive souls, relate to wealth. For many highly sensitive people, what appears to be a financial problem is often a conflict rooted in our nervous system, a complex interplay of inherited beliefs and emotions that govern our actions. Money becomes a measure of our love for others, a symbol of our loyalty to our families, and, at times, an indicator of whether we feel emotionally safe. The guilt that so many of us feel when receiving money, the compassion that accompanies every transaction, and the constant undercharging all stem from a deeper need to remain connected and true to our values. Throughout this narrative, we will delve into 5 profound emotional roots of financial stagnation. Each of these roots illustrates how our inner world, steeped in loyalty, guilt, trauma, conditional worthiness, and even a unique fear of success, can conspire to keep us from stepping into the abundance that rightfully awaits us. The first root lies in an unwavering loyalty to our family's belief system. Many of us grew up hearing phrases such as, "money is hard," "rich people are selfish," or "honest people struggle." These messages become deeply ingrained within our nervous systems. They quietly whisper that pursuing financial success is akin to displaying disloyalty to our roots. Take, for example, the story of Anna. Raised in a humble and hard-working family, Anna was surrounded by the notion that suffering was an honor, and that every gain must come with sweat and hardship. In her home, the idea that money should come easily was foreign, and perhaps even shameful. Now, as a successful heart-centered coach, Anna finds herself wrestling with a profound internal conflict whenever she considers raising her fees. Her mind echoes the belief that if she grew too successful, she might somehow betray the values that bind her to her family, that she might lose the deep sense of connection and belonging that she has always cherished. In this internal tug-of-war, her nervous system sends signals of discomfort, making it feel as though financial growth could lead to an emotional disconnection from those she loves. Yet, in embracing her own worth and gradually releasing this inherited loyalty to struggle, Anna begins to reclaim a new understanding, that expanding her success does not erase her roots, but rather enriches the legacy of love and resilience that defines her. A second root that many sensitive souls encounter is the interplay of guilt and empathy. For those who carry the weight of sensitivity, money often carries an emotional baggage of self-imposed responsibility. We might feel that having more money is harmful, or that it distances us from those who struggle. There is a common, almost subconscious equation: if I succeed financially, I risk abandoning others, and therefore I must undercharge to preserve an emotional connection. This is exemplified by the journey of Daniel, a therapist with a heart as vast as his empathy. In every session, when a client hesitantly admits that they cannot afford his standard fee, Daniel immediately feels compelled to lower his price even though he knows his expertise and genuine desire to help those in need are well worth the full value. His instinct is fueled by a deep-seated belief that receiving substantial payment for his healing work would somehow tarnish his compassionate intentions. Yet, as he reflects over time, Daniel begins to notice a dissonance. Clients who claim they lack funds are not always living in paucity. They enjoy leisure, splurge on modern gadgets, or invest their money in experiences that bring them joy. It becomes clear that his habit of undercharging is rooted not in financial pragmatism but in an emotional imperative to rescue others. Slowly, Daniel learns that charging fairly is not antithetical to empathy, but rather an essential element of sustainable compassion. By rebalancing his energy and setting clear boundaries, he recognizes that a well-nurtured therapist can serve more meaningfully without sacrificing personal worth. His realization is that when he values himself appropriately, he can pour out genuine compassion from a cup that is not empty, thus serving others in a healthier, more intentional way. The third root is the trauma that lies around visibility and the weight of success. For sensitive souls, the idea of being seen can be as frightening as the darkness of obscurity. Emma's story illustrates this delicate balance beautifully. Emma possesses an extraordinary gift. Her insight, wisdom, and remarkable intuition draw people naturally into a space of trust and deep connection. Despite this, the mere thought of stepping into the spotlight, of sharing her unique voice with an expansive audience, causes a tightness in her chest. It is not that Emma doubts the value of her words. Rather, she is haunted by the fear that being fully visible might invite judgment, rejection, and the loss of the intimate connections she holds dear. Every time she contemplates sharing her creative work publicly, the burden of vulnerability weighs on her, and she retreats into a cocoon of planning and preparation. In the quiet of her journal, Emma confesses that in her attempt to play small, she is not protecting herself but rather quietly suffocating her true potential. The artistry of her life has become caught between a fear of being overly criticized and a longing to express her heartfelt message. It is in this internal struggle that Emma begins to realize that visibility, handled gently and with boundaries, is not a threat but a doorway to fulfillment. She gradually learns that by allowing herself to be seen, with all her sensitivity and nuance, she does not lose the emotional safety of her community, but enriches it by offering a rare glimpse into the beauty of a protected heart finally stepping out into the light. Conditional worthiness forms the fourth root of our financial conundrum. Often, highly sensitive individuals harbor a belief that they must constantly earn the right to receive. The story of Laura powerfully encapsulates this notion. Born with an innate talent for words, Laura is gifted at weaving stories and insights that soothe and transform the hearts of her listeners. Yet, alongside her creative flair looms a persistent, corrosive thought: it must be difficult and painful to achieve something valuable, and if it comes too easily, then perhaps it is not truly worthy. This belief leads her to over-prepare, over-deliver, and consistently undercharge, leaving her exhausted and burnt out. Deep down, Laura struggles with the silent conviction that suffering and sacrifice are prerequisites for receiving true abundance. One day, following a session in which her work moved a client to tears, a moment that should have filled her with deep satisfaction, she felt a pang of insecurity. A small voice within questioned whether her client's transformation was enough to justify the full value of her service. In that moment of internal conflict, Laura slowly understood that the world does not reward effort in the same way it rewards impact. She embraced the idea that her worth was simply inherent in the compassion and transformation she brought to those who sought her guidance. By releasing the need to sacrifice her well-being as a condition for value, she allowed her natural gifts to be recognized for what they were: powerful, healing, and intrinsically worthy of abundance. The fifth and final root is the fear of success, a fear that is less about failing and more about what success demands. For many of us who are highly sensitive, the envisioned heights of success bring not only accolades and opportunity but also the looming responsibilities of leadership, expectations, and far greater exposure. Miguel's path as an entrepreneur illuminates this struggle. Brimming with creative ideas and a loyal following, he dreams of scaling his business, launching high-ticket programs, and reaching a broader audience. Yet, whenever the possibility of significant growth flares into view, Miguel finds himself frozen, his body tensing in anticipation of the potential burdens of success. It is not that he doubts his capabilities. Rather, his nervous system pulses with a quiet terror that increasing attention will lead to heightened judgment and responsibility. The thought of being in the spotlight so boldly, of having to guide others and shoulder their expectations, creates an emotional tightrope that Miguel is not yet ready to walk. Instead, he retreats into a sense of comfortable limitation, staying small where the risks feel more controllable and his vulnerabilities remain guarded. His internal battle is a poignant reminder that success, when accompanied by increased visibility, appears as an overwhelming challenge to our identity and self-worth. It is a call to gently reframe success not as a test of our ability to shoulder burdens, but as a vehicle for authentic self-expression and meaningful contribution. When we reflect on these stories, Anna's battle with inherited loyalty, Daniel's struggle with guilt, Emma's fear of visibility, Laura's conditional value, and Miguel's hesitation in the face of success, we begin to see that the challenges sensitive souls face regarding money are not issues of scarcity. They are issues of identity, boundaries, and emotional safety. What is striking is that those who cheerfully say, "Not now," when money is discussed, do so without the burden of guilt or the weight of emotional attachment. They do not conflate their self-worth with their financial state. Instead, they treat money as a simple, neutral energy, a tool that allows them to navigate life without tying success too closely to personal shortcomings or moral dilemmas. So, what happens when we start to reframe our perspective? We come to understand that money is not a moral or spiritual judgment. It is essentially an amplifier of our decisions and our inner truth. In this light, wealth can be seen as a means to extend our compassion without self-sacrifice, to serve without depleting our resources. It is possible to help others from a place of stability, to give generously without feeling that generosity is synonymous with a loss of self. In essence, money then becomes a tool that nurtures our capacity for service, all while reinforcing our boundaries and our inner safety. Imagine, for a moment, altering those three pivotal decisions you might make when faced with a financial opportunity. First, by reminding yourself that having money does not disconnect you from empathy. Then, by affirming that you can care deeply for others and still receive fairly. Finally, by trusting that the more stable you are within, the more freely you can extend your compassion outward. These phrases are not empty platitudes. They are practical affirmations that help us rewire our emotional loyalty. Too often, our financial blocks are not a result of lacking money, but a result of inherited beliefs, fears, and emotional attachments that make the idea of abundance feel risky. For many sensitive souls, financial ease is hampered by a nervous system that interprets money as a test of worthiness, an ongoing challenge where every transaction carries the risk of emotional guilt or betrayal. But what if we could let go of the need to prove our worthiness through sacrifice? What if we could allow our natural sensitivity to become the very key to a conscious, compassionate kind of abundance? The journey involves a deep inner reflection and the gentle release of long-held loyalties that no longer serve us. It requires us to treat money as a neutral tool, one that can amplify our gifts without demanding that we lose ourselves in the process. The transformation begins when we acknowledge that our current struggles are not about money itself, but about hidden fears and inherited beliefs. We start to see that every story, from Anna's loyalty to tradition, to Daniel's overwhelming empathy, from Emma's fear of exposure, to Laura's misplaced notion of conditional worthiness, and even Miguel's retreat from success, is an invitation to change the narrative we live by. It is a call to release the invisible ties that bind us to limitations, so that we can step into an abundant life that honors both our sensitivity and our value. In embracing this shift, we learn that a positive relationship with money is not a betrayal of our compassionate nature but rather a declaration that generosity does not mean self-sacrifice. Instead, it means receiving with dignity, serving with balance, and building financial well-being that supports our ability to help others sustainably. Financial ease becomes a matter of self-trust, clarity, and intentional decision-making, grounded in the understanding that money is simply a tool that reflects what is already within us. Each story we've explored today serves as a mirror, highlighting how our inner dialogue shapes our financial reality. Whether it is the fear of alienating loved ones by showing wealth, the guilt that accompanies well-deserved earnings, the overwhelming apprehension of being truly seen, or the misbelief that more money requires suffering, every narrative holds a lesson. The essential lesson is that healing the relationship with money is a journey towards healing ourselves, our nervous systems, our self-worth, and our beliefs about what it means to be deserving. In the end, embracing a balanced perspective on wealth means understanding that our sensitivity is not a curse, but rather a profound superpower, one that allows us to lead with empathy, to serve with authenticity, and to create a ripple effect of compassionate abundance in the world. Financial abundance, when viewed properly, is not a source of disconnection or moral conflict. It is simply a resource that can greatly enhance our ability to live freely, love deeply, and support others holistically. As you consider the emotional blocks in your own story, whether they surface as guilt, a deep-seated fear of being seen, an unwavering loyalty to limiting familial beliefs, or a nagging notion that you must suffer to be worthy, you now have the clarity to begin transforming these blocks. You can choose to release emotional loyalties that no longer serve, and in doing so, you may find that financial ease arises naturally. The journey is not about abandoning who you are, It's about allowing your true essence, gentle, sensitive, and deeply compassionate, to illuminate a path toward conscious and prosperous abundance. In this narrative, money no longer appears as an enemy of empathy but as an instrument of creative possibility, a neutral amplifier of your values. By reclaiming the truth that money can support both generosity and self-care, you open the door to a life where abundance nurtures the heart rather than burdens it. As you continue to reframe your relationship with wealth, remind yourself of the simple, empowering affirmations that help guide you. Having money does not disconnect you from empathy. You can care and earn simultaneously, and the more stable and secure you become, the more able you are to serve others authentically. Let this understanding be the turning point in your life, a moment when you choose to see money for what it is, a tool meant to enhance your capacity to serve, heal, and connect. Without compromising your sensitive soul. Embrace the journey. Allow your true self, delicate, empathetic, and profoundly connected, to guide you into a life where abundance is not a measure of sacrifice, but the natural flow of a well-nourished heart. In doing so, you honor both your sensitivity and your incredible capacity to create a world where compassion and wealth coalesce in beautiful, sustainable harmony.